T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Midheaven Podcast. My name is Candice Marie, and this is my...
The Peace Dealer. This is her host.
My work husband.
The Peace Dealer, back in the flesh, yes. This is quite an opportune time in this wonderful Caucasian household that I love coming to every week. You might hear me sound a bit subdued. That's because my semen retention program is transforming my body, so I'm just a little sensitive to the vibes. Yeah.
You're really struggling that much, huh?
I mean, I'm not like tempted, but the goal is just too much. I can't.
You're doing good though. You look great. I'm seeing all the compliments on the videos. People are like, Mike's looking awesome.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Looking nice and trim.
I'm working out again. We lost a couple weight.
Yeah, you have a tan too. You look like you have a little.
I'm going for the purple look, you know.
I wish people would tell me I look trim and tan. Fuck.
Oh my God. Yep. How was your week?
It was like whatever. I'm trying to think of what I did this week. I worked a lot.
Oh,
that's pretty much it. Just seeing clients working, getting stuff ready to go. What else? Yeah, I'm not really missing anything. My life's pretty unadventurous these days. Just a lot of like craziness. Just dealing with the squares, getting ready for the new moon. Pretty much that's it. Yeah.
That new moon's gonna be square you too.
Square Pluto.
And that's gonna be what, 10th house? Oh my God, it is gonna be square Pluto. Forgot about that.
Natal Pluto. So I'm just kind of like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, it's gonna be intense. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Well, we definitely drinks for this episode. We've been talking about this for a while. Those of you guys who have followed my work back to when I was doing work with ASTROLOGY, and also I've done it intermittently. I kind of stopped for a little bit, but one of my favorite things to do is to actually talk about astrology and politics. That's kind of how some of my stuff kind of blew up when I was talking about the inauguration chart for Trump before he was inaugurated. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's on Lotta's channel.
Nice.
Talked a little bit about some of the stuff that would ultimately end up happening as a result of the inauguration chart for Trump. And then I came back and did it the next year, and it actually did really well. It kind of went viral, but I got so much like feedback, both good and bad. Like there were like a lot of Republicans that were like, I hope a fucking house falls on you, you witch bitch. And then there were other people that were like, this is really cool. So it's one of my favorite things to talk about, especially America's chart. So we've been talking about this a little bit, and I was just like, you know what, let's just fucking do it. You know?
And I was definitely waiting for this episode because, a major part of the America's chart is the looming Pluto return. And I mean, we got Hades on deck right here, so.
I have Pluto in the second too.
Okay.
Yeah, I have Pluto there.
Oh, in America's a Sag rising.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, so natally. So I kind of get how that works. So what we're really going to be taking a look at today, just for the sake of time, we're going to be looking at the July 4th, 1776 chart at 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia. And then we'll also look at the solar return chart since America just had its birthday about a month ago, and look a little bit at what's happening in the next year. I looked at the chart already. You'll see. It's very fascinating.
The solar return chart?
The solar return chart.
Oh my God, it's probably going to be wild.
So we'll give our interpretations, not so much about what the chart makeup is. We'll reference it, right? Like some of the aspects, but we're going to talk more about transits.
Right.
And what planets are transiting and what aspects are happening and our predictions. Obviously, this is something that's going to play out for the immediate next year, especially with the solar return. We'll talk about that. But America's Pluto return, it's like what, every 270 something odd years. So obviously humans, we don't have a Pluto return because we don't live that long. If you're lucky, you live through like a Pluto, square or trine or whatever.
Unless you're like Nicolas Cage or Pharrell that are clearly vampires.
But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about just not and this is me, do whatever you want, but I'm not going to get my political views in on this. I'm purely just going to look at it from an astrological standpoint and kind of give you like my perspective of what I think is going to happen.
Likewise.
Which is hard for me, but we'll do it. So if you take a look at the chart, we've got a 12 degrees Sagittarius rising, 13 degrees Cancer sun, and the moon is in Aquarius at 27 degrees in the 3rd house. So I'll kind of like zoom in on this a little bit, maybe so you can see a little bit better. So off the kind of like the bat, I think one of the bigger aspects that's going on in 2021, other than gearing up for America's Pluto return, is I think Saturn on the South Node in the 2nd house in Aquarius.
Oh, okay. So America has the South Node in Aquarius. One thing, well, yeah, that's actually very deep. Transiting Saturn on the South Node.
That already is like super karmic.
What caught my eyes was that we decided to do this when the South Node was opposite Uranus, America's Uranus.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Juno was exactly on the South Node and Lilith was on the North Node. It's like letting go of wifey and just risking it with the mistress.
Wait, what are you looking at?
So like I had no idea Juno was in Sag.
Oh no, that's the transits.
Exactly, transiting right now, which is wild.
Yeah.
And then of course like the South Node is like, I think it's amazing how America's going through the Pluto return as the South Node is coming off the rising, which is pretty wild.
I mean like unraveling is what I kind of think, right? Because this is a country's chart. So if I were to analyze that as like a person's chart, maybe like the South Node transiting the ascendant is not always taking the best care of oneself, a letting go and unraveling, right?
America, you do look like...
It's a little raggedy.
You look like a mess
raggedy
a little bit.
As fuck, America.
Yeah.
But that's what's been going on. And then it also kind of got like lit up recently with the eclipse that we had that was in Sag. It was the full moon eclipse that was like around 5 degrees. So we're not going to see another eclipse that's really going to impact this chart. We did. I mean, we had an eclipse that was in June that was conjunct America's Mars in the 7th house. But I really...
The one in Sagittarius will be within 10 degrees.
Yeah, it'll be close enough. Now the nodes are going to be getting ready to shift into Taurus and Scorpio. So we're actually going to see, I think, probably the biggest like crash, boom, bangs.
Yeah.
Coming more so from, Pluto conjunct Pluto, and also like, Saturn retrograding. It'll get really close to the South Node, but I don't believe it's actually going to hit 6 degrees. Is it going to hit 6 degrees? I don't think so. Oh, no, it will. Okay. So it'll retrograde back and it'll be conjunct the South Node.
Saturn, right?
Yeah, Saturn. Yeah, conjunct the South Node like in October.
Wow, that's deep.
But the bigger aspect is...
That's when Pluto goes direct.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot coming. So if we kind of break it down, Saturn transit America's South Node in the 2nd house is a loss of technical financial strength because it's Aquarius. Yeah. And also I think of Aquarius as like the masses, right? It's like everybody, and it can deal with like technology where maybe we're not really getting the upper hand on technology and like making money. Maybe we're seeing that, especially at a 6, like there's like this need to assist and perfect or clean up our finances. Like if I look at a natal chart and I see the South Node in the 2nd and the North Node in the 8th, I see that as like making money from other people.
Right.
Depending on the degree and the sign, I mean, North Node in Leo in the 8th, ruled by the Sun in the 7th. I mean, certainly...
Oh, you're using Placidus. That's gangster.
Yeah, I'm a rebel.
Word. It could be like the resources of technology and the wealth in order to deal with, other countries. And that's what fascinates me with first of all, America is seen as the free country. And I didn't realize how on the nose that is, Sagittarius being freedom and America being like the face of freedom. So.
But also like just that Pluto in Capricorn at a 27, I see that like correlating to like a Gemini degree where it's like, we have a lot of debt. We,
yeah,
you
we
know, we have credit cards, we have home loans, we have car debt, we have all kinds of things that relates to documents, loans, paperwork, documents, right?
Yeah.
So part of my thinking, because I'm like a psychopath, I'm constantly like 5 steps ahead, is I know that the incoming Venus retrograde that's going to be in Capricorn will retrograde conjunct Pluto several times. Because I think it's going to turn retrograde around 26, 27 degrees. So the fact that that's happening and it's America's 10th house ruler of Libra makes me feel like there's a huge economic job crisis, banking crisis, government crisis.
Maybe
coming.
one that's been happening, but it's going to unveil.
Yeah, it'll unveil. Yeah. And then also, you know, in the new year, Mercury will retrograde from Aquarius into Capricorn, and it'll cross these same degrees. So something I've kind of like thought about, and I haven't really said it, is I believe there's going to be a banking and a financial crisis that will be going on in the midst of the holiday season in 2021.
Do you think that'll lead the way? My bad, friend. Do you think
Yeah.
that'll lead the way into like segmenting into a whole new like digital currency, or?
Yeah, it's a Gemini degree, and
Is it like on purpose or is it on accident? Like, are they resetting it, or?
Pluto is control, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that control manipulation, like reworking something secretly,
Kind
and
of
it's
like the Wall
Capricorn.
Street bets?
Right.
Okay.
So when you
That's
think
true.
about the eclipse that's coming in Taurus in mid-November, the nodes moving to north node of Taurus, it'll be the eclipse is going to be on Algol, and then it's going to trine Pluto. That tells me part of what's coming is that there's about to be some like huge financial restructuring, and like people are going to lose their heads over it.
True.
Now there's more stability that will come from it, right? And you know, this is more the practical, like I'll get into like my perspective on like the spiritual, but I see it as kind of being like the reckoning for what's coming in regards to what we have on paper. Now, from the second house standpoint, it's what we value, what we have, what the values are in terms of Capricorn business. So I believe some big business will go belly up, while other ones will kind of have like a stronger like hold on our spending and our control. I also think that this is talking about the government having the ability to have more access and control in viewing our spending. And, you know, once we segue into what would be a cryptocurrency that would be government regulated, think about this. Every coffee you buy, every transaction you make, every place you go, everything you do will be monitored.
Ooh,
that's Pluto.
Yeah.
So if the
More
U.S.
so than
government wants to stay in the game with what's going on financially with cryptocurrency.
And social credit scores.
Right. The question is how much of our privacy and our
That's deep.
is being like how much of that's being given away, right? Because we already gave
Especially
away
behind our back.
a lot due to the Patriot Act. Like we've given away a lot of our rights, right?
Yeah.
So when Venus goes retrograde, values, money, resources, Venus in this chart rules the 10th house of big business, partnerships, mergers, conglomerates, whatever. And also the 6th house, which is of service, helping, but it's also food, restaurants, you know, Taurus, I think of the service industry, like hospitality, maybe like, you know, hair and makeup. Like, I will go as far as saying this. I have a feeling that there may be huge regulations in these areas. There may be shutdowns or stronger control in terms of safety regulations in these areas. And that there's going to be a financial crisis during the Venus retrograde in Capricorn at the end of 2021 that will be covered up.
Deep. Oh, that's well said.
People aren't going to know that it's coming because they're going to be like, it's the holidays, we can't release this information. So when Mercury dips into the last degrees of Capricorn in New Year, I think it'll be January, February, then the news will come out. Now think back what happened the last time, in and out all last year, when Saturn hit 29 degrees of Capricorn. Do you remember what happened?
From my memories, a lot of CEOs stepped down from their position. And then a lot of people sold their stocks before news of the pandemic began.
But also we were shutting down borders, telling people they have to stay in their home, having lockdowns, right? So part of me wonders, are they because also Pluto's sextiling Neptune, y'all. Jupiter's going to go into Pisces, and it will also sextile Neptune. So you really want to watch what happens with these sextiles between Capricorn season and Pisces season.
Deep. Mm-hmm.
Do they know that there is a looming financial crisis coming, and they utilize the pandemic as a reasoning for shutting everything down and blaming some of this economic crisis on the pandemic?
Whoa.
And
She just got a text from the FBI and saying, "Oh, you said too much, Candace."
Yeah, I'm just like waiting for all of this, you know, like it's just something that I keep thinking about, and I'm like, oh my God, the world's, you know, like the world's gonna fucking explode.
But there's also a twist with this where maybe what's being hidden, and an ironic twist of fate, almost needs to be hidden. Like there could be that aspect where if they did tell us, so many people would riot and there'd be so little control that hiding it is a matter of security, which doesn't help because there are lies that are involved, perhaps. But we may see these lies exposed. I really love that you mentioned the retrograde covering things up, and that makes me think that a lot of people around that time will come into financial highs and or lows, depending on the actions they take. But yeah, my question for you is, what is, like, as soon as she opened the chart, this just kind of blew my mind because it's happening right now. The North Node is on America's Uranus. What's going to happen? Like, this is crazy.
Okay, so let's break it down, because America's Uranus is at what degree? 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not there yet. It'll be there soon, but yeah, it's basically there.
You mean the North Node? No, you mean Uranus. No, I'm saying the North Node is 8 degrees Gemini on America's Uranus. So I'm like, that might be the precursor that's going to set up all this unconventional change leading into the Pluto return.
Well, I mean, I guess the one positive is that in this chart, Uranus does trine the South Node. It also does trine loosely Saturn in Libra.
That too.
So you've got air trines happening between the 6th, 2nd, and 10th house. Once again, these are Venus aspects, right? Because it's Venus houses. So it's Libra, aesthetics, beauty, relationships, partnerships. And then we've got the 6th house, which, you know, Taurus, you know, health, wellness, food, stability, financial security. And I think of like Taurus in the 2nd house as like the organization of banking, you know, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. So
that's going to bring something unpredictable for
I mean,
sure,
I guess we could go back in time and we could look at, it wouldn't be the same aspects, but we could look at what happened.
The last time
the North Node was conjunct Uranus, but it's at an 8, and in this chart, Uranus rules the 3rd house. Once again, documents, communication, speech, traveling, documents and traveling, okay?
And
in Aquarius, digital documents.
Is 8 degrees a Scorpio
degree? Yeah, it's Scorpio degree.
Oh, wow.
Right. I mean,
That's
so
wild.
Keep in mind also, over the next 2 years, Saturn will conjunct America's moon, ruler of the 8th house. One of the first things that I noticed when I looked at this chart was, you know, we've got this Aquarius moon in the 3rd house. To me, that screams like, with that in conjunct to the quincunx to Mercury, the issue that we have with homelessness.
That's deep.
People living in their cars.
Yeah. Significantly more than 10 years ago.
Idea that we have the freedom of speech, when in reality, I don't think we do.
Especially with Saturn transiting the 3rd and
for sure. And Saturn's going to conjunct the moon, ruler of the 8th. And this is the other thing, is that I will kind of go back in and out of these two things. I see it as, you know, part of America's Pluto return, if you look at it at a 27 degree, will be us determining whether or not we will uphold a document.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
So it's the Constitution, because that's what this chart is based off of. Yeah. Basically, I mean, yes and no. They say that there's another chart. I said it was like March of '78. I'll look at the corporation
chart, right?
Yeah. And I think that's when they put it into action. But you know, Pluto in the 2nd house, the power being a freedom of speech and our controlled speech. But in reality, Pluto is in opposition to Mercury in the 8th. So what do we not release? What are we withholding? What are we controlling? Who's controlling the information and the documents and the numbers pertaining to money, resources, loans? Also the housing market, like, and I don't say this to like scare people, but it's like,
Right.
I look at Pluto making that opposition again to Mercury in the 8th, ruler of the 7th, you know, controlling the media, controlling freedom of speech, controlling the narrative, controlling who can and cannot get loans. I'm hearing from so many people, the interest rates are so low, it's never been better, blah, 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 the market's great, but there is an increasing number of people complaining that it doesn't matter how much proof they have, it's harder and harder and harder to get loans, Pluto. So I look at this and go, over the next 2 years, there's going to be more of a crackdown, and we're going to realize that, number one, we don't have as much freedom of speech as we think we do.
True.
We just don't. And two, we can't keep living off of documents and cards or other things that, like, we can't live on debt. Like, that's the 8th house.
At some point, it'll crack. And I feel like the Pluto return is, if America is hanging on by a thread, the Pluto return will cut that thread and it'll collapse on itself. Maybe it could be a collapse that causes a rebirth and a new renaissance and revolution. But, you know, what I'm interested about is that the 46th president has a Sagittarius rising, and his sun in America's 12th house. So that'll be very interesting to see, given that the 12th house is a hidden house, what's being hidden. I mean, there's classified documents certain presidents don't really release to the public. And I think coming closer to Scorpio season, once the North Node next year goes into Taurus, we may be very well exposed to what has been hidden. Not even that it's a bad thing, but like so let me just kind of say that again. When I say he may be exposed, I don't mean like he may be exposed for all the bad things he did, but like whatever has been hidden in that 12th might actually be revealed, whether voluntarily or a whistleblower, you know, reveals more of what has been hidden.
By the way, you were asking about this. So it looks like November, December of 2002 was the last time the North Node was conjunct.
2002?
We were at war.
Yeah.
Post.
This is after 9/11?
Yeah.
Oh, crap! Holy shit.
Right? And I'm not saying that that's what's going to trigger it, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
I mean, and you know, Uranus was conjunct America's moon. So what's interesting is, you know, the housing crash didn't come, I think, till closer to 2008.
right.
But I could just think about what was going on with the media. It's like you couldn't turn on the television without seeing all of the war and everything that was being blasted. There was a narrative that was being driven.
Yep.
And we had people there for so long. And it was like, no matter what you do, all you saw was like war, right?
Yep.
The other thing I think about,
My
you
bad.
know,
I also wanted to add
Yeah.
that when that happened last time, the previous election involved someone who contested it in court.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Al Gore?
oh yeah, for Florida.
Right.
Right.
Which I kind of thought was a little bit of a parallel with this one.
Well, I mean, the conjunction is happening as we speak. I feel that this Pluto, you know, retrograde in opposition to the natal Mercury in Cancer. I mean, when you think about America, really since like what, the 40s, the 50s, there's been this emphasis on protect the homeland, right? You know, have a home, have security. And that Pluto-Mercury opposition between the 8th and the 2nd is the fact that America is a company, right?
Yep.
They are.
Yep.
They are a corporate company.
Yep.
And what are they doing? They're pushing and they're farming homes, home sales. You get huge tax incentives for having babies, for getting married. All of these like Cancerian things that's like, well,
Right.
we gotta keep populating.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, it makes me wonder, like the Pluto return also has some karmic, how do I put this? There's some karmic aspects that happen as a result of the bloodshed that was shed by the name of this country,
Yep.
right? whether that was Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, whatever wars, Pluto, we've been involved in. But the government has made money off of wars. And that's not a political statement. That's an astrology statement because Mercury's in the 8th in opposition to Pluto. So
and it's just the truth, industrial complex.
We continue to fund our country, or I'm going to say our business, through war and through loans and debt and sale of homes. And I feel like, wasn't Pluto also in Capricorn, like in the midst of slavery, like when slavery began and when it was like founded, when it first started happening?
I would say
I think it was,
because it started off with the Arabic slave trade, which led to the European and then American subsequently. So it was all around that time. And we know that after World War II is when America started to really gain its power as like a superpower.
Right.
Like following those decades.
Pluto and Cancer.
That was like the World War II?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That was when it was...
Right, it was the opposition.
Right. Ooh,
right.
So it completed it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of like I think about this and I go, and this isn't like me like diluting slavery. I guess I have to say this because I have to. There's no dilution to slavery. In a way, I feel like America
and indentured servitude, because that's also not talked about too.
Do you think that what's happening is that America is like having to finally like face the music as a result of not just bloodshed, but like slavery and, you know, killing in the name of the land, Pluto in the second, like conquering the land, and not just in a sense of, you know, slavery, but also like Native Americans and like other things. Because I think of Capricorn, I think of like ancestors.
Yeah.
And Pluto is like spirits, it's the dead. So in a way, it's like the dead's rising and creating a lot of the things that are going to be happening, and it's like the United States karma.
And America will tell you that, well, we ended slavery. Like it was that amendment. Even though slavery never ended, it just got pushed to prisoners. So if you go to jail, you're a slave. Like if you're a prisoner under the 13th Amendment, you are a slave to the government.
But still, there was like segregation going on for a very long time. There was like this limitation of like certain, you know, minorities and stuff who did not have the opportunities that like other people had. So we may say like, okay, well, slavery ended, but like really like racism and limitation due to, you know, racial profile, whatever, like it's gone on for like so long.
Yeah.
So whether you say that slavery ended or not, America still was allies with countries that were still trading slaves, that were still utilizing that.
Even as soon as Obama, I mean, some people will attribute certain actions of Obama to leading to the Libyan slave trade and not necessarily, you know, being checked upon. So these are evidence of how it kind of still happens today, especially coming into human trafficking. So, and
that's still alive and well. That's still happening. And you know, I've wondered, and I think to myself, is the Venus retrograde gonna dig up all of this shit, all of the scandal, the sex scandals, all of the stuff that's going on with that in politics at the end of this year? Is there going to be a huge financial scandal involving some of the banks? I mean, you know, Wells Fargo was in some hot water again.
Really?
For some other fucking bullshit. I don't know. They're always doing something. I mean, remember when they were like making fake accounts for people who were dead?
No, I didn't know that.
I mean, they got slapped recently, I think, with a fine. And I wonder if some of the major banking institutions are going to, you know, release some of this information to the government and they're going to try to withhold it. I also wonder, is this going to be the process of, you know, us realizing that it's like the second go round and really it's not so much slavery per se, but we're slaves to like consumerism. Like, are we slaves to just doing nothing but absorbing and buying and eating and like, are we all right? Because Pluto's coming into opposition with Mercury. It's going to be how the government controls and manipulates our information, our facts, our media, our social media, and wanting to know what we're buying, what we're consuming. It's the second house.
And, you know, concerning like the neo-slavery, you know, which shout out to Kanye and his new slave song, like he knew what he was talking about. if we think about not just consumerism, but tax, the Constitution was formed because of taxation without representation. I think a huge theme outside of gun control and mandating anything is tax. I think that's going to be a huge contention.
Oh, for sure.
That has always been a contention, but comes up like more so again.
But also, Mercury being in the 8th house, it's what incentives are we creating for people to want to buy homes here? It's not safe. We don't feel safe.
Yeah.
A lot of people, most people can't afford to own a home in this country. And I think part of the Pluto in opposition to Mercury is the realization of that.
Which makes me think of where Neptune is in America's chart.
22.
Oh, 22 Virgo.
Yeah, and we're having our Neptune opposition too. So then when Jupiter comes into the mix, it's going to be like...
Do you think that's like dispelling the illusions?
Or a mass exodus of people trying to get information from other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, our news is filtered. There are things going on in the world that most Americans have no idea what's going on, even if we have major, networks that are giving us information.
Or it's spun in a different way.
I want to show you the solar return chart.
Oh, yes.
I will say this. The fact that America's ascendant moves to the midheaven tells me that when the sun or eclipses or other things aspect 12 degrees of Sagittarius, when we have America's ascendant move to the midheaven, it will make nationwide news.
Yep.
In some way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is this Sagittarius season.
Yeah.
Yep.
It will happen.
And you know what? I feel like because Uranus is going to be in Taurus, it's going to be very unexpected. It's going to be very unpredictable. We may have an idea of what it'll be, but it'll just like... Sagittarius I've always seen as the wild card too, so...
Yeah. But also remember what was happening during 4th of July. It was during those squares. So at the time, the moon crossed Uranus in Taurus, squared Saturn in Aquarius in the 12th, and it squared Mars and Venus.
Wow.
So a lot of the craziness happening
is definitely going to be...
But also, the 29-degree Aquarius rising, there's going to be a full moon that's going to be happening at that degree, conjunct Jupiter.
Oh my God.
Very soon. So all hell is about to break out. By the time you guys see this, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Because it's like early August when we're filming this. But, I look at the ruler of this chart, and it's Uranus. Uranus in the second. At 13 degrees, square Saturn, and also square Mars and Venus.
Perfectly sextile the solar return.
And Mars and Venus are the rulers of the 2nd and the 8th house. Financial changes, huge financial fluctuations.
Yeah.
Revolution, basically.
I'm definitely looking forward to that full moon, 29 degrees, especially because a lot of this is based off of stuff that's already happening, but will probably just come to the surface more so. And it's nice to see Jupiter 1 degree Pisces too. That's...
On the ascendant, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I would think, okay, so what I've always understood about Jupiter in the first too is that's a brand new 12-year cycle. When Jupiter went through my first house, I became the peace dealer. And before that, I didn't know I was going to become the peace dealer. I was changing my spiritual beliefs. So that, coming out of the 12th house in Capricorn and Aqua could be the collective transforming their beliefs around America, especially like you were saying, do we want to change the Constitution? Do we want to...
Well, and it squares the nodes. It's also retrograde, the ruler of Sag, which is the 10th house. I see that as come Pisces season, certain government officials are deciding that they're going to limit travel by individuals in and out of the country.
What?
Yeah, because it's retrograde. And it's in an Aries degree, and it's square the nodes. South node in the 9th, north node in the 3rd.
So by individual, it's like, you can go, you can't go. You can go, you can't go, but you can go.
And it's going to be a Pisces state. So it's going to be not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like we're enclosed.
Right, like in a dome or just like by a fog of illusion.
Yeah.
Which we have to respect that this is all the prerequisite to the Second American Civil War, which I feel this conflict is going to happen all over the world because of everyone else in the world's interest or connection to America. or allegiances, who's going to side with who in this civil war. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how not only all this kicks off, but Uranus is on the North Node in Gemini right now. So this is not only time sensitive. We in the next 2 weeks may experience something that no one saw coming. Hopefully not like 9/11.
Well, and the Mercury in the solar return chart is 21 of Gemini conjunct Mars. So it's a war on information, facts, documents, paperwork, freedom of speech, 21, right?
Yeah.
So it's like literally mirroring a lot of this stuff.
Oh, and 21's a Gemini degree.
Jupiter's conjunct the moon. Moon is the ruler of the 8th. So, pertaining to freedom to move around, freedom to communicate, freedom to share. I mean, the next 2 years in
That's
American...
what you think of Jupiter on the moon? The freedom?
Yeah,
okay,
the freedom.
cool.
And it's retrograde, so it's being held back.
Right. Oh, okay.
It's conjunct the moon, ruler of the 8th. So, I mean, like, people going and getting filtered or, getting canceled, or people getting shut down for sharing their views, their visions, for sharing what's going on in other places, they're gonna get banned.
With no explanation, too.
No.
Which is wild. And I mean, I've experienced that just recently. I actually appealed my video.
Okay.
And
what happened?
I actually read the guidelines and I saw everything that you weren't supposed to say, and then I realized at no point did this video break those guidelines. I assumed it did, and then I realized it didn't, and my appeal got rejected. I should be grateful they didn't delete my channel, but I mean, at the same time, it's just kind of sad how, even channels with so much more subscribers than me just get like taken out with no warning, without even like having 3 strikes. So it would be interesting. The only reason why I love that though is the more this happens, the more inevitably another site is going to take its place. Because if you get rid of so many people, then they'll just create a new platform.
Oh, there's so many new platforms coming though.
Yeah.
There's so many. I'm getting curious. I'm trying to multitask. I'm looking at next year. One other thing was that America's moon moved to the solar return 12th house, right behind the ascendant. And I saw this recently. There was like some legislation passed or whatever, like I think in Southern California or in LA, where it's like now becoming illegal to be homeless.
What?
Which is fucking ridiculous.
That's
yeah.
a thing?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so are they going to start taking like certain people and like putting them in centers? Like, are they going to start arresting them? Like, are they going to start taking the fringe people? Like, that's what makes America great, right? That Aquarius 3rd house moon. Like, if you have a 3rd house Aquarius moon, like, fly your fucking freak flag. Like, if that's what you want to do that. But I'm starting to wonder if they're going to start taking fringe people and shutting them down and being like, no, you're not going to talk about this. No, we're not going to. Whether you're somebody who wants to have a blog or a podcast, or you want to have independent media, or you want to go and broadcast out of the back of your fucking blazer, like whatever it is that you want to do, like they're going to start shutting that stuff down.
They already are, as far as like limiting what you can or can't say, but...
I'm almost scared to look at this chart.
Oh, 2020. Oh, for next year.
For 2022.
Gemini, America.
7th house moves to the ascendant. So we're essentially just like alienating ourselves even more.
So it's going from the midheaven to the descendant.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And that makes sense too if we think of the rest of this year coming into next year. I think Jupiter in Pisces is going to change literally everything. Like literally everything. And it'll be worth it to do a Jupiter in Pisces episode for sure. Just to kind of like...
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Even if it's closer to next year. But I mean...
Well, especially as it gets closer to the conjunction with like Neptune, right? Because like the crazies are going to get crazier. Like you're going to have people who are going to drink the Kool-Aid and join cults. And then you're going to have people who are also like the religious nuts that are like bombing abortion centers. Like that's... Like that's what you're going to see.
And the conspiracy theories are going to be A1.
Yeah, we're going to be like on some high-level shit next year, huh?
Remember those times when you can just binge watch a whole bunch of conspiracy theory videos on YouTube? I feel like that 2012 vibe is going to come back, and it's going to come all full circle. Like, remember this stuff we said? You all said we were correct. Boom. Boom.
I just keep trying to be optimistic, and I'm like, oh, Jupiter, Neptune, like, they're going to find Atlantis.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope they do.
Or ancient technology.
Well, both, in that sense.
You know what? Rick and Morty, low-key, the new episode of Rick and Morty, low-key told the truth about, this ancient aliens that came down and defeated these dinosaur...
Reptilians?
Well, they call them turkeys, but... Right.
Close enough, right? Dinosaurs, big birds, same shit. They're both not to be trusted.
Right.
I don't like birds.
And it was like the secret of the crypt of America. And, I felt like that was grounded in some truth, as wacky as it was. So that could be the rest of this year. I do believe in predictive programming, even if it's unconscious, because we have to keep in mind that there are aspects of our subconscious and unconscious extradimensionally that we're not aware of with Uranus, with Neptune, and we might become into seeing more how this interlaps with with this reality. And that'll be very interesting.
This is America's progress chart. I felt inclined to look at it, and my eyes go directly to the progress south node at 26 degrees in the 5th house.
In Capricorn. Oh my God, that's where Pluto is.
And that's where Venus will retrograde.
That is intense. And the sun is in Pisces now. So do you think
And the north node is conjunct America's natal Mercury.
So let's see, it takes 30 years to move through a sign, 360 years. So that means it's gone around several times and it's back into Pisces.
And Jupiter and Neptune are going to conjunct our sun. I feel like a lot of people are going to try to leave America over the next 2 years.
Like
I feel like
exodus.
That's, yeah, and like we can put these on top of each other and look at this too.
That progress chart is wild.
Well...
In fact, Pluto is on the south node right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, let me do it the other way around. There we go. And that's interesting. I mean, it's just something I like to like look at, but Pluto there, the south node there, the progressed moon, so we're coming into America's progressed lunar return. I don't know, it makes me like wonder, like, I think it's still a lot of freedom of speech. I think that a lot of this talks about the future of children. And I've seen that also with just the aspects in America's 5th house with Uranus going through there. Mm-hmm. And like, are they trying to quiet the youth? Are they trying to program the youth? Are they trying to limit, the population? Like, I don't like saying that, but it's like, I don't know, like part of me like wonders, like, is this like some like Handmaid's Tale shit? Have you seen the show?
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, so like the whole thing with like, whether or not like reproductive like rights are going to like belong to like women anymore, and like trying to like affect, I don't know, just comment below if you agree with me, because just something about this like seems very eerily similar. And I guess maybe like the big thing is just the fact that Venus will go retrograde through there. So even that being the ruler of the 2nd house in the progress chart, I wonder like if they're trying to like squash the middle class or the self-employed or people who are entrepreneurs, like, and look at what's going on. Like over the last several years, we've seen pretty much the demise of like small business and like mom and pop shops. Like it's become progressively more challenging because of larger corporate companies like Amazon and like, other big business.
It happening in front of everyone's face is really the wild part. And the thing that's fascinating about this is, which is very much a power struggle, it's kind of like creating this feeling of impotence in people. And it's having people reevaluate, is this fair? Is this meant to be? Why should these people have this much power? Especially when later you find out a lot of these decisions aren't even based on science. Yeah. Just expert opinion. So.
Well, everybody can be paid off, Yeah.
And
that's not a opinion. I mean, like Mercury in opposition to Pluto in America's chart. This is lobbying. Mm-hmm. This is, back office dealings and trades and understandings and sell-offs and other things that we would never fucking see, ever. And how the government, Pluto and Capricorn, is influencing ultimately creating fear, Mercury in the 8th house, and how it's projecting fear through the 7th.
Yeah.
And who the talking heads are in the world, and who's selling you things, who's trying to convince you of things, who's telling you that you should run around and freak out and sell your stocks off, or that you better, go and buy a house while you still can. It's just like everything is being driven by fear right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Some shit.
Well, I'm excited. I know.
I mean, on the other side of this is a revolution.
Exactly.
Right? Because it wouldn't be happening. I mean, that's what this country was kind of founded on, and you and I have a lot of Uranus aspects, so we don't have issues with causing a ruckus.
Exactly. I feel like Pluto Scorpio was down, they're ready.
Well, we're just kind of
Pluto
fuck it.
Sag
We
is
graduated and there was an economic crash.
Exactly.
There was the housing crisis. We also dealt with, being really young and seeing 9/11 and people dying all over the news. Pluto in Scorpio generation is just let it all fucking burn.
Yep.
Let's just start over.
Pluto Sag too. I feel like this will impact.
Pluto Sag is pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yes!
They're
Yay!
and then they make memes about it.
Yep.
So I fucking love you, kids.
Yep. Y'all the only ones that if you riot, I wouldn't even be mad. That's in your nature.
And you do it in such a stylish fashion too. I'm here for it.
So I think this will affect the older generation that has worked so hard to build this legacy that's not gonna really stick.
They built a legacy that's fucking broken.
It's dead.
It was
a lie.
It was fundamentally flawed from the beginning, which is why it's falling. But even Rome fell.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yep. Rome did not last forever.
Here's to the fucking end of the world.
Yep.
I'm trying to stay positive, guys. Hopefully that was insightful. Let us know what you think. Take a look at the charts. Leave your questions, comments. Also, I'm going to go a little bit deeper and I'm going to talk more about some of these aspects. I plan on making a video on my channel, so stay tuned for that. Check that out. I will be letting people know when I put it out. It'll probably be 2 hours long and super nerdy, so
Nice.
if you're into that, then
That's what's up.
let me know.
Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and comment down below your thoughts on where America is headed, how other countries may be affected by this, and also why you haven't joined our membership. You can comment down below, why you're gonna join later, and it's okay. We'll forgive any excuses.
All of your contributions go towards alcohol in Mike's 2026 presidential election.
How did you know? Oh, I'm gonna be president.
I'm
one day.
crystal ball.
The angel party. I'm gonna run the angel party.
Is it 2026? 2028?
2028, yeah.
I
Or
think
2032.
We need you sooner than that. Can you get on that?
You're right.
It's either you or Kanye.
That's the thing, I don't want to run against Kanye. So if I can run with him or whatnot, but you'll see me 2028. I'll be of age.
Kanye. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We'll see all of you guys really soon. Take care.